Good evening, or whatever time zone it is, everyone. This is honestly probably going to be one of the hardest sessions I ever do, because this teacher meant so much to me, and I felt like I had to give back to others because she taught me so many different lessons. And she would always tell me that I was a teacher of teachers, never a coach. She would always say I was never. Like a coordinator. She always just called me I taught teachers. So I love this and I want to dedicate this session to her because she's such an amazing person. And people are saying they can't hear me. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Maybe they're muted. So anyways, back to the presentation. I am going to just share some tips and tricks that Tammy taught me along the way. And she was the first teacher that was willing to work with me. I sent out an email to my staff my first year as a technology coordinator, and I was just like, I'm so excited for this new role. And Tammy was the first teacher who emailed me back within 15 minutes and was like, I want to meet with you. I'm free this day. Can you come? And I was so nervous meeting her the first time, just remembering like what it was going to look like and what I was supposed to do and what coaching even looked like because I had no training. I started off as a teacher, and I mean, I helped other teachers. I was spec ed, so I was in different classrooms, but I had no idea what this coaching role was going to look like or what it should look like. I just kind of made it up throughout my career and what it looks like. And with Tammy's help, I was able to develop something that I think is really special. So that kind of brings me to who I am. I'm Stephanie Howe, an instructional technology coordinator in Pickerington Local School District. And in the chat, one thing that Tammy always used to do that would like make me laugh is her emails would always be in all caps. Every single email that she would write would be in all caps. So if you wouldn't mind for the remainder of this session, if you're going to use the chat, which I would love, if you could just go ahead and click on your caps lock and type in all caps for Tammy, because that was every single email. And the reason that she did it was not because she was yelling at you. The reason she did it was because she couldn't see very well. So yeah, Becky knows completely. Becky was Tammy's co-teacher. She worked really closely with her, and every single email involved all caps. So if you wouldn't mind in the chat, all caps would be awesome. And then I also love this quote that I found on Twitter. It was right after Tammy passed away, and it says, want to know if your coach is being effective? Listen to the teachers they support. And I love this quote so much because Tammy every time I left her room, she would let me know how appreciative she was of me, how much I was helping her. And it's true. If you don't know what your teachers are saying to you, or they're not telling you that you're appreciative, then you need to change what you're doing as a coach. So I just love this quote that Hans put up on Twitter, and it was like right after Tammy did pass away. And I was just like, she really did let me know that I was doing my job the best that I could, and that she was just supporting me along the way. And then if we could just take a moment of silence real quick, that would be awesome. All right. Thank you, everyone. Okay. So the first thing that Tammy kind of modeled for me was finding your rock stars. So those teachers that will do anything and will try anything and don't care about failing. So Tammy was a teacher who believed in me. And I really want you to find those teachers that believe in you, because this job is hard. It can be isolating because sometimes you don't know who you can trust. And then you're in the middle between district office, you're in between teachers at a building. So you have to find those teachers that really believe on you, because it's going to be hard working in a district and helping multiple people. But you have to figure out like who is there that does believe in you no matter what. Also, make sure you find the teachers that are going to talk up to others about you. Tammy was probably one of the main reasons I got in really close with a lot of those teachers in this building. She worked at Tollgate Middle School, and that building like is probably one of the closest buildings I work in. They really love each other. They care about each other. But if it wasn't for Tammy giving me a good word to all these other teachers, I don't know how successful I would have been in that building. So if you're doing great things and you love people, they're going to talk really highly of you. And then your work is just going to go that much higher. Also, make sure you find that teacher that makes you feel like that edu celebrity. Tammy always did this for me. She would listen to YouTube videos I would do and just made me feel like I knew everything there was about ed tech, even though I don't. But she was really supportive in that area of just making sure that I knew that I was special and that I was different. And I just appreciated her pouring that time into me. And you've got to find those teachers that are your cheerleaders, that believe in you. I love what Kat said. Find your cheerleaders, because that's so true that you need those people that are there to encourage you when things do get tough. Yeah, boo those non-Tammys. And be that Tammy if you need to. Believe in others and make sure that you are talking people up if you believe in their work and they're awesome, because it can do someone so much. I mean, the amount of confidence I got from Tammy couldn't have been done without her. Another thing that Tammy would always say is she was like, she was close to retirement. She had about 5 more years left before she passed away. And the passion and energy that she brought to the school, even so close to retirement, energized myself. And she would always tell me that my passion and energy for education brought that to her. So just bringing that excitement to others can really go and do awesome things and help people focus on what they need to focus on and bring that passion back to education. Because again, there's so much that is required from us that if we can just show our excitement and passion for kids, we can change some of the things that might be like the paperwork, that can be draining. And so just looking at all of those different things and bringing that passion and excitement, it really made me excited to work with her just because she loved kids so much. Another thing that she kind of taught me was that being present. So Tammy, if she was the kind of teacher that I didn't have to be present all the time for, she would send me emails. Like she wouldn't care to always, bother me per se. She would just send me an email whenever she wanted to. Even if it was like 3 a.m. in the morning, I'd have like an email from Tammy. And Tammy was a morning person. So, and I am too. So we would always be emailing each other at like 5 a.m. Different ideas and different ways to think about education. However, not every single teacher is like Tammy. And so one thing that I learned really quickly is you have to be present. And so being present my first year of coaching was those morning walkarounds. So I had to make that free time just to walk around and check in with teachers to see what do you need, what's not working, how are things going, and having those different conversations with teachers to really dig into what can I do to be a better support to them. And so when I was around, I learned a lot. I learned that, teachers were having issues with certain students logging in. We were able to problem solve together because I was present and I was able to see these different issues. I also was able to see time-saving tips for teachers because they would do something and I'm like, you can save 5 minutes by doing it this way. So just those quick conversations really do build up the relationships. And I didn't realize how important they were until like my third year of coaching. I realized, oh my gosh, because I was so present and available to teachers, I was able to help them out a lot. And again, like when they see my face, it like triggers a question. And so kind of now, because I am so busy helping multiple teachers, I have to kind of create that time, because I'm like, oh no, this teacher is going to take 15 minutes of my morning time. And that's okay, because I love those conversations, but you got to know like your teachers and where you need to go first. So that really does help. And then the next thing is being available. And so a great tip is trying to leave emergency time in your calendar, because you never know when somebody's really going to need you. And so when you do start to get busy and your clientele picks up, make sure you leave that emergency time in your calendar. Mine is like lunch. It's in the middle of the day. And if I don't eat lunch that day, I usually don't, or I eat while I work. It's okay. But that's kind of like my keyword for emergency meeting time. And then I also try to do like office hours at the beginning of the year, just so people know that I'm available, especially with COVID. It was hard to be present. Finding all those different Google Meet links to join a class can be really hard, just because you have to, ask them for the link, and it can be really awkward. We're in a classroom, you can just walk in. And so just building those relationships with teachers and just being there for them when they need you can really help them trust you, especially when it's an emergency, because there's always going to be some type of emergency. And if there's not, that means I get to just go in and check out what people are doing in their classroom, what cool activities students are learning about. And I get to talk with kids and just ask them, hey, what are you doing? Do you enjoy doing this or not? But it is nice to have that time when there is an emergency that might pop up. And also, it's a very good tip. I wish I would have done this before COVID, is to teach your teachers how to use video conferencing. So prior to COVID, a lot of my teachers were like, I'm not getting on a video call. And that just meant that I had to drive around more. And now that we've had COVID and video conferencing is super popular and they're all pros at it, I can connect with anyone, anywhere, at any time. So as soon as you can, if this is after COVID or if your teachers don't feel comfortable, really teach them that video conferencing skill, and that it's okay to join. Made me a better coach, especially because I couldn't click for them. They had to share their screen, and I had to be really descriptive about where they could click and where they could not click. So those were just some tips that I wanted to share about emergency time. The next one, this is Can We Talk by Stephanie Rothstein. And on here, it talks about teachers' true colors. And if I would give Tammy a color, she was not able to take this assessment with us because I just found out about this really cool quiz. But reflecting on the Can We Talk survey, Tammy probably would have been a gold, no doubt about it. And knowing that about Tammy is I needed to give her feedback. So when I give her feedback, I needed to make sure I was following all the procedures. She was, and Tammy always went over and above. So just making sure if she wanted feedback, I would check all the boxes that I said, hey, I need this, you need to do this, and just laying it out really for her. Also, I had to be on time for meetings. At the beginning, Tammy probably would have cared if I was running late and didn't tell her. However, after you build that relationship, Tammy would have been understanding if I was running late. But it's just so funny because like canceling a meeting, I really try not to do that with my golds because it stresses them out. They're like, no, we scheduled this meeting and I want to have it because it's scheduled. They're very type A type of personalities. And so knowing that about Tammy, if I would have known this later, good thing I was a gold because I wasn't going to cancel any meetings. But if I was another color and maybe, that's not a priority for me, I would want to make sure that I honored her time that way. And so just reflecting on that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so true. And this true colors thing really is helpful. So just go to canwetalkedu.com and you can review all of this true colors survey information that Stephanie Rothstein did. It's super helpful. And again, it allowed me to give more meaningful feedback. And if I told Tammy that something was going to happen, I had to make sure I was going to follow that process just because she's a gold. Where if somebody was agreeing, I might start with asking them questions. So like, how did you think that lesson went? Just so you can have that conversation with your teachers and really focusing on their personality to best meet them where they're at. So again, that's canwetalkedu.com. Also, the next one is saving time. So those tech tips that really do save time, because teachers are really busy. And teachers, they want to know what is going to save them time. And this is something that really helped me when I was in my first year, again, walking around, being present, seeing, okay, this teacher is doing this, but this could save them time, and giving them those quick tech tips that can help them move forward in their instruction. So maybe it was a lot of my teachers, they'll go up to the file and then they will copy. I don't know if anyone else has teachers like that. And so just teaching them Command C, Command V, those quick tips really can save time. And just helping them figure out, maybe let's use a Google form to just do a real quick a formative assessment. So that way we can look at data and setting up conditional formatting. So teaching them those skills, it might be a lot of setup at the beginning, but once they have it down, they're able to use those different skills to do better things later. So focusing their instruction on different things. Also, like focusing on missing work, that was a huge concern. And it was so nice to just go into teachers' classrooms and just say, hey, what's going on? Like, what problem are you facing? And I didn't really focus on the problem until after Google Innovator in Sydney. They really focused on that problem-solving kind of attitude and asking your user, what is your biggest problem that you have? And really focusing on that feedback. And so some of my teachers were like missing work. So listening to teachers say that missing work was a huge barrier in their classroom, sitting down and problem solving with them on what does this look like and how are we going to solve the missing work dilemma. So maybe that's having kids come in on Wednesdays. Maybe that's meeting with parents and talking about what the expectation is. Maybe that's teaching a teacher how to use talking points so that they can send out a quick text message. So just thinking about different ways that we could do this. Also, like using Autocrat that would send messages to parents after so many missing work assignments. And then also teachers are busy, so templates. A lot of my teachers love templates. So sometimes when we're just talking, they'll say, I want to do this. And I'm like, oh, I saw that on Twitter. And I just save everything to Twitter. So now that the new storage thing with Google, I'm probably really screwed because I'm a digital hoarder. But just having a template there for teachers so they can see how it's organized and then they can make quick changes to their classroom. And so maybe it's a Pear Deck activity. I can go ahead and create the basics of what that could look like, and then they can go in and add their content. So just having like that template layout of what this could look like is really helpful. Also, if I work with one teacher that's an ELA teacher in one building, I can go to another building and say, hey, I worked with this teacher on this activity, and I think you might really like it as well. So having that template can really help teachers see what is expected of them rather than just hearing the, I want you to do this, or this could really help you in this way. So creating those for them and kind of starting from scratch with them, and then you can use those templates in other ways. Teacher clarity is another really good one. So making sure that they're able, especially with COVID, teacher clarity was very difficult because you're able in the classroom to redirect, you're able to answer questions, you're able to do different things. When COVID came and we were remote, we focused on video. So working with teachers on video and talking about what that looks like to help save time. And so just going over again with them on how they can provide, maybe emojis in their classroom or different things like that. And then the next one is co-teaching. So this one's probably my favorite. I love co-teaching. It's a blast to do, and I just really enjoy it. And one of the first lessons that I co-taught with Tammy was student portfolios. And it was like the best day ever because I was like, something's going to go wrong because sharing a Google site can be really challenging to do. And so like we figured out the workaround of sharing a folder, and then the kids were going to go into the folder and make a copy of the site, and then they were going to share it back to us. And it was like a huge, huge, like step-by-step thing. And we had to do this like 3 times in one day. And it went perfectly. Like I was just shocked because I'm like, this is going to go wrong here, but it didn't. And Tammy was that teacher that I was willing to fail. And I even told her like, I don't know how this is going to go, but we're going to just try it. And so again, she was willing to try anything. So you've got to find those teachers that are willing to pilot with you those new strategies that you could do. And again, with that portfolio, it could have gone so wrong if one kid didn't click things. And again, like there was a couple kids that weren't listening, and she just was like, you guys need to focus. Miss Hal's time is very precious, and just the sweetest like lady that she could have ever been. But just offering to co-teach lessons, trying new things can be scary for a lot of teachers. And so when they are scared to try new things, offer to co-teach with them. And co-teaching can look really different. I love co-teaching again, just because I have that spec ed background and I've seen how awesome it can be. But you've got to know the different models of co-teaching. So these are the different models. There's like station teaching. So one teacher's teaching a group, and then kids are working independently, and then maybe I would be working with another group. Maybe there's one lead and one support. So we did this for the first class period. I was the lead teacher on those portfolios, and then Tammy was just supporting me, watching me, hearing me give directions. So that way, second class, we were teaming. So we were team teaching. So we both were teaching the lesson together. And then we were able to kind of do the alternative teaching. So then she taught, and I was able to kind of work with a group of students that was struggling with the directions or needed more assistance. So that's kind of how I like to model the lessons. It's really nice because my teachers have those 3 different class periods where they reteach the same lesson throughout the day. And so having that one lead and support, they can watch, then they can team with me, and we both do it. And after all of these lessons, we're reflecting. So some of these questions might be like, what was the best moment today? And how can we move forward with that? Like, how can we create more moments like that in your classroom? And then I always like to ask, what was the most challenging part? And how can we correct that for next period? And I really try to listen to their feedback. And so when next period comes, we make those changes to make the lesson better. So maybe it was like, okay, I love this part, but you need to slow down at this part to re-go over the directions, and let's do it once, and then let's do it again so that they can hear it. And then I love just watching with the alternative teaching, where I'm able to watch and help that small group of students. And then I can give feedback on, I loved how you did this, or you need to correct this, or I saw this student really struggling, let's try this. And when you use those words of like, it really helps teachers feel like it's a collaborative thing, and it's not something that is one more thing for them. So focusing on that language that you use as well. And then there's parallel teaching. So she would take a group and then I would take a group. I don't use this model as often as I probably do these other ones. But this is probably the one that I use most of the time. If I'm doing blended learning activities, it's that station teaching. But if they're working on different like grids or different pace, like self-paced lessons, it might look something like this as well. So it just kind of depends on what is going on for the day. But having those conversations, and if I'm co-teaching an all-day lesson with that teacher, I try to eat lunch with them just to get to know them better, or to ask them those different questions as well, or sit with them during their planning and just say, okay, well, what went well? What needs to change? That can really, really help. And then again, templates. So having those visuals available for teachers can really help. And then we like to make comments off to the side so that we're kind of co-collaborating. So usually we'll meet and I'll just ask them like, what's your biggest problem? Or what do you want to solve? Like, what's your goal for this upcoming week? And then once they have that goal, we'll create that kind of visual. So this is like one of the grid methods that we've made. And then you can see over here different comments that we do after that meeting. So it's kind of like an ongoing planning session. So we'll meet to talk, we'll look over the resources and collaborate off while we're not present. And then we meet again, and then we might co-teach is usually how it runs. So just looking over everything, and then I'm able to comment back with them about what needs to happen. And then sending resources. So usually when I'm in a planning coaching session or with teachers, I have way too many tabs. And so one trick that I like to do is I like to use Wakelet. So like, let's say I've got all these different tabs open, and then I have to turn on Wakelet. I can just go, oh, it's not even going to pick it up. I can just go over here. So these would be all the open tabs, and I can create a collection with all these tabs. And then I have a resource that I can send to those teachers. Let me see if I can find an example. I don't even know what I would have named it. But it just makes it faster to send resources to teachers, and that way they're not lost in the different ways, and then they can kind of see what you're working on, and oh, I really love that resource or whatever. And I try to tell teachers, like, this can be overwhelming, so just let me know. Right here is like one example. So this one's like a reading idea, and there's 30 items. So I had 30 tabs open, and I just saved them to the Wakelet. It's also kind of nice because it lets me know how often this teacher looked at this collection. So I do have some data if I was like just wondering what they were looking at. And then I just go to that tab and I save the collection. So once I'm here, I hit create collection, and then I can rename it. I usually put the date or the teacher's name or something on here so I know. And then I share that link with them. If I don't use Wakelet, maybe I just have like 3 tabs open. I always send up a follow-up email. So I'll just say, thank you so much for meeting with me today. I'm so excited to do that lesson. Here are some things that we focused on during the session. If you need the links, let me know how else I can support you, or I look forward to co-teaching with you on this date, or I can't wait to meet with you on this date, whatever the next steps are. And they really do appreciate it because there's so much that I just hit that share button and then it gets lost in their shared folder. So having that recap of what has happened makes it really nice. But you can see here, it's just a ton of different templates. And I can share this in the chat if anybody wants to kind of see what this might look like. And I'm not keeping up with the chat, so if there's any questions, somebody needs to let me know. But this Wakelet just really helps for me and that teacher. So then I can go back in and say, oh, I gave them this strategy. How did that go? And normally I don't send this many out to teachers. 30 items is a lot. It's more like probably 2 to 5, I would say. So if I've got a big brainstorming session, I will send those out. This teacher could handle this, so don't think like she couldn't handle this one. This one could. But just know your teachers and how much they can handle before getting overwhelmed with new strategies or ideas. And then coaching menus. So I started this. I think I saw this in the Google EC Open chat that is run. It's kind of like a subgroup of Global GEG by Becky. And somebody in the chat, I want to say it was Sarah. I don't know for sure, but they provided a coaching menu. So if you click that link, it's going to open up the one that I recreated that was shared in, and I need to put my slide deck in there. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a hot mess today. But this coaching menu, let me put the slide deck in. There you go. This coaching menu, it's on slide 26. You can click it and you feel free to make a copy. Sarah was totally okay with it. But this was just a really good way to get into classrooms. So I try to send these out when I'm not as busy and when I feel like I can support teachers, or I feel like I want to meet with a teacher. I might just send this out and say, okay, this lesson will just take 15 minutes or less. That's all I need to model this lesson for you. And then you can do it, and I can, we can team teach it, and then you can do it. This one takes 30 minutes or less, and these are all mostly EduProtocols. So they're quick, easy lessons that can be done really quick. So again, teachers, this helps with gaining relationships with teachers, and those teachers that might be afraid to try some new things. I'm just like, well, I'm just going to waste 15 minutes if it doesn't go well, or I might just waste 10 minutes if it doesn't go well. So then they're a little bit okay with me coming in and trying a strategy because it's not their whole class period. So this could be another idea. And then here's just some other coaching strategies like goal setting. What do you want to focus on? And it just kind of helps teachers go over, okay, this is your job and this is what you do. So it can be really helpful to kind of focus in on what your job is and that you're not just help desk support. So really going over those different things about this is how I can help you. And then they really know, especially for new coaches, because in my district, coaching was brand new. I mean, they had instructional coaches like for science, social studies, math, ELA, but never a tech coach. So my job really quickly could have turned into help desk support tickets. But instead, because I was able to set this up and I had really good mentors that were awesome tech coordinators or tech coaches in other districts come to our district and help me understand, like, you have to set up boundaries because your first year, you want to do everything and you want to make everyone happy. But having this really helped me remember, okay, this is my job role and this is what I'm supposed to do. So again, can just be really helpful. Those quick lesson ideas that get you into the classroom and can really build those trusts with teachers. And if you need templates for any of these, I've got a whole drive, I'm sure, filled with them. So just let me know and I'm happy to share whatever you need. And then weekly update. Again, you want to be present with them. So every Sunday, I schedule a weekly update to send out. I schedule the weekly update on Fridays and it comes out at 5 a.m. And everyone's like, I can't believe you're up at 5 a.m. on a Sunday. And yes, usually I am because I have a 1 month-year-old or 1 year old. And yeah, I don't sleep anymore. So right here, there's a weekly update that I send out. Again, you can click. I stole this from Becky because she's amazing and her templates are so pretty. But right here, you can just see that, like this one, on a scale of 1 to 9. Again, teachers can just use this right away. They just have to make a copy. They can edit to whatever they need to on their Google form. Let's see if it does it. And they can fit their classroom needs. So maybe they want to go in here and they want to collect email addresses and allow only Pickerington. They can. The reason I leave it open is because I don't care who uses my resources. But then here they can go ahead and maybe they want to change this question. So where it says, which teacher do you want to check in with? They can write the teacher's name. Maybe they don't want that question. They can go ahead and delete it. So I try to allow them to fit whatever they need for their own classroom needs. And then this I found off Twitter. So again, a lot of these resources that I find are off Twitter. This is a really cool website that I've recently found. Just getting kids, that check in on how they're doing with the different assignments. Are they an expert on it? Just a really good idea for good teaching strategies. Jamboard activities that I find. And a lot of this is just found on Twitter that I love to share with teachers. And again, this can be overwhelming for all teachers. And so some teachers, I put all the old newsletters down below so that teachers can go in and review anything that I have ever sent out. But I do know that this can be overwhelming for some of my teachers. So it's not like a have to read it. It's a here's some ideas if you're ready for it. Which I have a lot of teachers that are at that stage. And you have to remember that every single teacher is at a different stage. And that is okay. Some teachers need this and want that. So you've got to meet those teachers where they're at. Some teachers want you to go a lot slower. So then you've got to slow down with the teachers that want this. And I just remember I've got this awesome list of different activities that I found on Twitter or have created or seen other teachers use in our district. And I can go in and say, hey, I think you should try this activity. It might help you engage your students or whatever. And I'm able to use this as a resource as well. So just know it's okay if teachers don't read every single update, but the teachers that really do need this, they will, and they will thank you for it. So that can be another really good resource. And this is what the email looks like. So I don't know if I can zoom in a little bit. Right here, I just put like weekly update, and then I link this every single week. And then I always say, like this one was for January. I did like a swap it idea that Kim Vogie sent out. She's an awesome person to follow on Twitter. And she did something with swap it every single day in January. So I just took a couple of those ideas and I said, this is the old strategy. This is your new strategy. Just to get some teachers thinking. And I always put like the main tips on the main email because I know every teacher is not going to click this link. So that just makes it really helpful. Also, I put here like tech support. Our IT department does tech support for students because we're hybrid right now. So on the days that they're not in school, they're able to still get tech support. And I just put the link of how to do that, and other resources that they might need are all on like the body of the email. And so that way when they click, they're able to go in and review any strategies that they might need. Tech While You Tinkle, which I get a lot of kind of harsh looks at when I talk about this one, but it seriously does work. So every month I put up, well, I don't put up this year. I've asked teachers to do it. A Tech While You Tinkle. And a lot of my secretaries said, hey, I'll do it for you. So they'll hang it up for me. I have a couple of teachers that hang them up. Just because I'm in way too many buildings this year, they would get up like mid-February probably for some of them. But here I just give 3 quick things to like ponder while you're using the restroom. So as teachers are using the restroom, they can kind of look at the Wheel of Fortune. They can learn about this tech tool. They can also ponder about presenting in Google Slides, because if you hit that, what is it? If I press B, it goes to a black screen. If I press W, it goes to that white screen. And so just teaching those tips, because if they're able to use like white screen, okay, I want you to focus on me because the kids aren't, they're looking up on the screen, and you're able to get their attention back. Or maybe you want to ask them a question, so you want the screen to go black. So those just quick tips that I can throw into it while they're using the restroom. Also, this website of the month, I try to do like a new website so that kids can, try something new. Teachers can look at this. Just can be really helpful in the district. And again, if you click, you can grab the template. If any of my teachers are watching, all of them are already planned out for the year because I'm crazy. But you can see what I've done for August. You can see what I did for September, October, and I put them in a plastic sleeve cover because it's in the bathroom and they could get really gross. So that's just a fun tip. If anyone wants to use these, they're all there as well. And you can kind of delete whatever you want and customize it for your district. Or you can use what I have. And I was trying to do like issue 5, but that kind of stopped. I can't keep up with what number I'm at. Personalized videos. So sometimes my teachers will email me that they need help with something. And I think it's super important to create these videos if I can't get there right away. So for example, a lot of teachers are like, I need help with Edulastic reassigning an assignment. And so I'm able to create a video, and I always try to say their name. So like, good morning, Heather, I'm working with this and I want to walk through how to do this. And then that makes it feel more personalized to them. And it's super easy. I just use Screencastify, I click it, and then I make sure my microphone's on. Sometimes if I'm feeling up to it, I'll have my web camera on, and then I just hit record. And then I'll share my screen. And then I'm able to walk through the teacher with what they need to do. And again, I try to say their name, so I make it more personalized and it's easy to understand. And then once I'm done, I just hit stop sharing. And I rename it with like the teacher's name, what I'm working with her on. And then I usually publish it to YouTube, but I make it unlisted because Drive for me usually takes forever. So I just like to publish it to YouTube, copy that link, and send it to the teacher. So it just kind of depends. But again, I love that I can make it personalized for the teachers. It's quick, it's easy. If it's multiple teachers that I know are having issues with that or going to have that question come up again, I do just make a generic video to save me time, and I won't put a teacher's name. But I really do think when you say that teacher's name, same with if you were making a video for a student and they needed help, saying their name will really make that touch a little bit more personalized. And then preventing issues. So preventing issues, just make sure you communicate and be as transparent as you can with teachers when there are those tough decisions that have to be made or those disagreements. So just communicating with them, being honest with them. If there's something hard coming up, kind of prepare them, involve them in the process. We have tech committees, and I can share that whole process if anybody is super interested and what that looks like. But involving them in the process, because we were buying technology, I feel like, just to buy tech. And if you looked at some of our usage report, not every single teacher was using some of the programs that we were buying. And so looking at that usage report and then involving them in the process really did help that communication, because they were involved, their feedback was being heard, and then they were able to move forward in that process. Again, the process is long and it's a lot more work on myself because there's a lot of paperwork I have to get ready and I have to do, but I'm able to hear from every single teacher. It's not just the loud teachers that are willing to share their voice at those meetings where it can be intimidating, but it's every single teacher filling out a survey and leaving feedback. And so whenever you can involve them in that process, you need to do that. And hearing from their voice is, again, one of the biggest things that you can do. And when you are at a disagreement, listen to them. Listen to why they disagree, or come and observe them and offer them to co-teach, and listen to how you can help them be a better teacher and how you can get through the mission and vision of your district. Our vision and mission is personalized learning. Not every single teacher was ready to do that, but just taking baby steps with them and knowing that's the end goal and going with them through the process and using that vocabulary of we and actually meaning the word we. And then again, communication, just some ways that you could do this is email, in person. I was introduced to pop-up pedagogy by Shannon Moore. And so just kind of thinking about pop-up ads. And I really was like, in my newsletters, oh, I've already shared that there. Like, I don't need to bring it up again, but just having that pop-up pedagogy of keep coming up to them and like kind of being annoying, like those pop-up ads will maybe help some teachers because the time's not always right. And so just being able to reshare ideas and re-communicate different things, because sometimes, again, that time's not right. And if you know that time's not right, it's okay. Their time will come when they do need that idea or that different lesson. And then templates. This was a new one for me this year. I think because of COVID and the amount of different stress that we were using in the classroom, but templates for help desk. So my teachers hate help desk because it's a whole nother system. It's email, you've got help desk, you've got all these other places to communicate. So with help desk, I started to send out an email, and when I was getting multiple issues and I knew our IT team needed a help desk, and I would just say, copy and paste this message. And I learned this from May at Google. She kind of did this like with different social media posts. She would kind of help me with this. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so smart. So I would just say request type. This is how you do it. Request for new computer or technology. Type something like this. And again, I didn't care if they copied and paste because it had to be in help desk. And so having that template for teachers made it a little less of a barrier for them to put it in help desk, because they didn't have to type out the message. They just had to copy and paste, and they could follow my directions for what they needed to do in what order. So that really helped that divide between the IT team and the help desk communication that was not being put in. And then check-ins. Again, I kind of love these on a scale check-ins. I learned these from, I think it was in staff room with Kat. And it really helped me share my emotions because I'm not a very blue person. And so looking at these different cats, I was like, oh, I can relate with that. I'm feeling, a number 6 today or whatever. Yeah, let us know in the chat what your on a scale is today. But then taking that, if you're like a number 3, so like Darren's a number 3 right now, asking Darren detailed questions. Okay, so why do you feel that way? What's going on with your life? Like, why did you pick that option? And really hearing from them when you ask those detailed questions, and the responses might surprise you, like, oh, I just got results from my doctor and I am dealing with this, or my husband or my parents. Especially with COVID, there's been so many different losses that we've had this year, and different mentally, like different medical issues, different stages, people feeling exhausted, people feeling, and so just talking about these different cats can bring up those more detailed questions to where you can get answers. And so when a teacher did say, like, oh, I have a doctor's appointment, I was able to put that in my calendar and then follow up with them later and just say, hey, how did it go? Do you need anything? Or maybe bringing them something in the morning, some type of gift, depending on what you think that teacher needs. Or even I had a teacher that was out for a doctor's appointment and she hated leaving subs for her students. So just telling her, hey, I will check on your sub midday. You go to the doctor's. And that just took off so much anxiety for her. And it took me maybe 5 minutes to do. And I was able to just send her a quick text message and just say, hey, everything's going well. I just wanted to let you know, I hope you're doing okay. So just keeping those important dates in your calendar can really help as well. And then following up. So you taught the lesson, you've gone through all of these different things with your teacher with co-teaching. Now it's time to follow up. And so on my calendar, this was something that I learned really quickly, is in 2 weeks, if I shared a resource with a teacher, I like to just check in. So for example, Luis helped me with the leaderboard for a couple of my teachers. And it's been about 2 weeks, I think. And so today I went in and I checked up on them. I said, hey, how's that leaderboard going? Are there any issues? Is it solving all the problems that you were trying to, solve? And the feedback was good. And if it's, hey, I haven't had time yet, and then I can say, well, do you want to co-teach, or do you want me to come in again and re-explain it? So just following up with teachers to find out where they're at, have they tried it, and how did it go? So that has really helped me, and it makes that relationship really, it makes it stronger. There's a Connect Hub that Susanna made, and this is really helpful to know which teachers I haven't met with. So I've added all my teachers in, and I'm able to go in and say, oh my gosh, I've spent this much time at this building. I wonder how this teacher's doing. I haven't talked to them since October. So just keeping track of the different teachers in your building and knowing where you're spending most of your time at and seeing those different graphs. Again, you could do this with a Google form, but it just allowed me to reflect on where I'm at. Also with Google Calendar, I color code my calendar. I can show you guys my calendar. It's pretty crazy. So here, like purple means it's a Google Meet. And then yellow means I'm going to be at Ridgeview. This means I'm going to be at a Harmon, like another building. So I'm able to go between my calendar to know, okay, there is a lot of green this week. So I'm at Harmon a lot, and then I'm at Tollgate a little bit. So I'm able to go in and see, okay, where do I need to go today? Because I am not at Lakeview today. I don't see any of the orange color. So then I'm able to look and say, okay, this day is all Google Meets. So I'm going to just spin my Google Meets at Lakeview, because if this meeting finishes early, I'm able to go in and check in on teachers. So again, I try to leave that lunch an open area so I can check on people. But it just allows me to quickly say, okay, I have not been at this building, and I color code everything because it just helps me make my time a lot easier. And then Google Keep. So using Google Keep as my to-do list and knowing the order of things I need to do for the day really helps. And I just love checking off as I do things. So Google Keep can be a really good one, especially because it integrates with Gmail, it integrates with Calendar. All you have to do is click the Google Keep and it will pop up, and you're able to see what you need to get done for the day or for the week, or any reminders that I might have. And then the 19th thing is just love people. And Tammy would always just tell me that I needed to take care of myself because she knew how much of a workaholic I was. And I just appreciated her telling me that, because you have to love people and you have to love yourself. If you don't love yourself and take time for yourself, you are going to get burnt out. And whenever I'm feeling like that, I just think about what Tammy would just tell me, and she would just say, take care of yourself because this place doesn't care about you. And I know they do, but it's just her way of saying, like, take care of yourself. And if you don't, it's going to be pretty rough. So I just really do appreciate Tammy saying that. And then number 20 is don't give up. Again, this job is really hard, but just don't give up because teachers do need you and they need you to support them in the best that they can. All right. And that was my 20 tips. Does anyone want to come up and help with questions if there are any? I was not following the chat at all, but I will go back and read everything. And feel free to post questions in the chat if you want to see something in more detail, or you have any questions about how to use something or anything like that. Habit and Darren, I'm going to pull you guys up and whoever else is back here. All right. Did I have any questions? USC?
Nope. Lots of praise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'll
lots of agreement.
I'll share this slide.
Yeah, no, everyone's just celebrating the session. It was really, really great.
People are threatening with going to your house, taking away your brain, and using it for them.
Oh,
basically.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to do that. Luis calls me a robot. You don't want to be a non-emotional robot.
I don't say you're a robot. I say you're a reason why the CAPTCHA asks if you're a robot, because you are robot-like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or robots just like Steph. That's
true.
But I think it's really good timing as well for lots of us going back to teaching this week after breaks. Kind of that looking after yourself message is so important, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It really is hard to look at. What do you guys do to look after yourself?
I'm not so avid.
Build a computer.
Yeah.
Not a functioning computer, but a computer anyway.
Yeah.
You try to.
Drink a lot of hot chocolate.
And there's a question. So there's a real question. So this
A
one
real question.
ask what other uses to keep track of appointments and meeting. I use Google Calendar. Does anyone use something different? I've heard Calendly. I don't like it because I'm a control freak. Yeah. Anyone else use that one?
I use Google Calendar, and I do use the claim feature on Buy Me a Coffee. And also I use Trello for kind of just project management.
I'd love to say that I use Calendar, and I do use Calendar, and I try and link it with Keep and keep notes on the people. So I have a Keep note for the people who I'm coaching, theoretically, if I remember to write it down.
Calendar for me all the way. I've become more and more reliant on Calendar in the last few years, which is starting to worry me because that means I'm forgetting things now.
Yeah.
I use Calendar as my planner as well. So all of my lessons are in the calendar. All the resources are in there as attachments. It just keeps everything in one place.
Stuart, she already told us she doesn't sleep. She blames her 1-year-old.
I wake up at 4 a.m. So that's where I do all this. And Google Calendar really does help me with managing my time and making sure. Also, saying no. One thing is I don't know how to fix the copier. So when teachers ask me, can you fix the copier? I don't know how, and that's a help desk. So you have to set up boundaries for your work, because if you don't, you are going to get drowned in those different tasks that aren't necessarily your job.
There's also scheduling emails is wonderful to appear that you do stuff at odd hours.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to type out. I never, ever answer email after like 6 o'clock. I might draft it, compose it, and make it to be sent later so that people don't know that I'm up working, which works a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does help. And I can walk through that real quick if anyone needs it. So if you're in Gmail, you can go over here to compose, and then you have to have a sender. So let's just do Abid because he loves my emails. And we're going to go.
Especially birthday emails.
Yeah, happy birthday. This is probably
Yeah.
to go to spam. And then if you go down here to this arrow, schedule send, and let's do tomorrow at 4 a.m.
Sounds good.
Make it 4 a.m. his time, not your time.
Would that be like 1 a.m.?
Well, now you're asking Steph to work out time zones.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's my weakness.
It'd be
And
like
then it goes
11
into
p.m.
it goes into the scheduled area, and then it will send tomorrow at 1 a.m. Also, I keep a draft of my weekly update. So as I think of things, I just type it in. So like I added this one today because my teachers are getting new devices. So I went ahead and made this nice little graphic for them on step-by-step directions, and then I just paste it in. And I already have my video ready because as you get really good at coaching, you're going to realize teachers need help and what questions, just like teaching, you know what questions to anticipate. And then I also try to find that teacher. So like Craig was my teacher today, and I just said, because he's the one that asked me about it. And I said, any feedback on this would be appreciated. And then I'm able to make changes if it didn't make sense. And then I can do whatever. So I do have those teachers where I try to give them like the insight scoop or the NDA information so that they can give me feedback on what changes I need to do. It really helps because then they think of things that I didn't think of as well. So I try to send it out ahead of time. But you can see here like parent-teacher conferences. I did this resource. I also suggest creating a website with all of your different resources. This one was created in October. Well, parent-teacher conferences happen twice a year. I'm able to paste in that resource, and I don't have to recreate it. So just saving time that way of just having videos and resources ready to go. Yeah.
I think coming back to what you said earlier about saying no as well, Steph, you know, it is a difficult thing to do. And it's something I wasn't very good at. And over the last probably 18 months, I've learned instead of saying no, saying yes, but what would you like me to not do while I'm doing that?
Yeah.
And sometimes you get a very different answer than you would have got otherwise.
Yeah. Saying no is really hard, especially your first year, but I'm so glad I did learn that my first year. It really did help. My top 3 tips, I would say being present would be the first one. Just making sure that you're present. Templates were huge, like just giving them templates that they can use. And then finding those teachers that really do support you and will talk highly about you. Those are probably my top 3. Does anyone have any others?
You already mentioned it, but being human is a really good one in the sense that, you know, check up on them, ask them about their family. Keep a cheat sheet. I keep cheat sheets. I keep cheat sheets with spouses' names, kids' names, birthdays, all that sort of stuff. So you can ask, you know, look it up before you go face them and just know who you're talking to and what to ask about.
Yeah, and Luis has a really good sheet where it auto sends birthdays.
We did a video, didn't we?
Yeah,
Maybe?
I'll find it.
Yeah.
But that can be a really helpful way. Again, I mean, how many people tell you it's your birthday when you're this old? Like on Facebook, right? But not like a nice little email that you can get. But I send one to Abid every single day.
Wasn't it like 3 to Abid every single day?
Yeah, 3 to Abid every single day.
You're just scared you're going to miss the real day.
Here's the resource in the chat. But that's not the resource. This one was kids adding their birthdays to a calendar. I'll find the other one. Yeah.
The other thing I would say is, for me, don't judge. You know, it's not about being judgmental. It's just about seeing what you're going to do to make things better for the teacher you're working with. And particularly in the UK, if you suddenly come across as not judgmental, it's a whole different ballgame for people, and it really opens up the floodgates because they're so used to being judged and so used to being scored that suddenly somebody's saying, look, I'm going to come along and watch your lesson, and then we're going to talk about how we can make it better, and you're going to come up with the ideas. Makes a massive difference. Much more empowering.
Yeah, and I think too, don't assume either. That was something I learned the hard way.
God, this chat. The other one is stuff that might seem simple and like really silly to do for people, for you, might be really hard for some people. So as stuff that you do every day might be really challenging and daunting for others. So be patient and try and explain as clearly as you can.
Like you were saying about the controlled copy, the amount of teachers who don't know how to use keyboard shortcuts is terrifying.
Yeah.
Teachers got to be able to not judge and support. And
a lot of it's because they didn't have somebody to teach them, And I think too, finding your PLN. I mean, I could not have done this session without you guys. So thank you for being on the back end, because at the first part of it, I'm like, I can't do this. So just knowing you guys are there allowed me to go through it. So I appreciate it. But finding those people and talking to them, because I'm always like, Luis, this doesn't make sense to this teacher, what you got. And then we're able to collaborate together on different projects and activities and really be able to meet every single teacher where they're at.
Also, doing what Steph does and what I do sometimes, invite somebody from outside, and you seem like so important that you're bringing people in for their particular thing, and asking people for a favor is ridiculous. I'm not going to charge anybody for any time. I'll help gladly. And if you do it like that, you ask somebody from outside and it looks so impressive. Look, they brought over somebody from Colombia or from England or whatever.
Yeah, whenever I bring Luis on to our meets, or Avid, he did a session with kids. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for your time. Because they think they're like EdTech famous, and they're not. They're not.
Yes, we are. like Z-list celebrities, but we're
maybe you, Luis, but not everyone. No.
The other thing is, I don't know how it translates. I'll try, but there's nobody's a prophet in their own land, in the sense that all the stuff since you're at your work anyway and you're there anyway, nobody will believe you. But if you bring in somebody from the outside to say exactly the same thing, then then they're wonderful, because they came in from outside.
Yeah.
This makes me a celebrity straight away.
Oh, I didn't recognize you. I didn't realize it was you.
Yeah,
that's Dark Abbott of the Sith.
The Clark Kent effect, isn't it?
Oh my God. Okay, are there any more questions, or should we end this party?
I haven't seen any more.
All right.
nothing's come up.
Okay. Well, if you guys think of anything, feel free to reach out to any of us. And we are more than happy to help. I cannot find that birthday thing, Luis.
We'll put it up somewhere.
We'll find it. It'll be on Twitter. Okay. All right. Thanks for watching. Do we want to do an outro video?
Go for it. Go on.
I don't have one.
Don't then. Don't do it then.
Just end awkwardly.
Just wing it. Yeah.
All right. Bye, guys.